Hundreds.
right back to the very beginnings of the history of life on Earth.
And that intelligence with that being at that time would have been cave-like, or maybe even smarter.
Well, there are various kinds of evidence about the past. There's what we can find in the layers of the earth, and then there's what we can find in the wisdom philosophy at New York University. His name is Thomas Nagel. And within the past couple of years, he came out with a very interesting book called Mind and Cosmos. And what's really interesting is the subtitle of the book. And the subtitle is Why the Materialist Neo-Darwinian Conception of Nature is Almost Certainly False. So even atheists are recognizing there's problems with these materialistic scientific theories about the origin of life and the origin of the universe. And Professor Nagel identified three problems, which I agree with. Said these theories don't account for the origin of the first life, they don't account for the origin of consciousness, and they don't account for the origin of species. Because the claim is that just by random genetic mutations acted upon by natural selection, you get all the wonderful forms of life that we see around us, which are incredibly complex. Even the simplest cell is more complex than the most complicated computer that we can build. What to speak of a human being where you have trillions of cells organized in very complex structures like the human brain. So I think it's perfectly logical to suppose that there must be some kind of non-material principles, some higher intelligence involved in producing a lot of the order and complexity that we see around us. So yes, I think ultimately there is a supreme conscious intelligence that's responsible for the order and complexity, including the order and complexity that we observe in the different life forms we observe around us.
Hey, would you consider yourself, Michael, a scientist?
Well, I don't consider myself to be a scientist or a religionist. I consider myself to be a human being. They believe that only 5% of the universe is made up of the ordinary physical elements like oxygen and hydrogen and helium and iron and the molecular, the elements in the periodic table of elements. They believe that ordinary matter represents only 5% of the universe. 20 or 30% of the universe they believe is composed of an invisible substance called dark matter. And, there's an even bigger part of the universe, 65%, that they believe is composed of something they call dark energy. So even modern scientists are being forced to admit there are unseen elements of the universe. So a lot of these ancient cosmologies, like the Vedic cosmology of ancient India, they lay out a picture of the universe that contains elements that we don't see today, sacred oceans, cosmic mountains, cosmic rivers flowing from higher levels of the universe to lower levels of the universe.